You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
As I live and breathe, I didn't think we'd be sitting here a couple weeks into the baseball season and talking Vladimir Guerrero contract. We're with Keegan, and Keegan, when we were in spring training, talks broke off. They said, yep, he's going to be entering free agency, doors closed. I guess the Jays will be in the running then. And then, boom, Sunday night we get a 14-year, $500 million contract. Were you as shocked as everyone else?
Didn't expect it to happen now. And I will not rewrite history to pretend I was in the know days leading up. Yes, there were reports around this the last few days, but there were also reports from a lot of the same people 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 10 weeks ago. This has been such a mess in terms of how information has come out. Now, when it did start to pick up the last few days, you could tell there was a little bit of smoke. You could sense, not only from reporting, but being around this team, seeing who's talking to who, seeing how this is going, you could start to sense it. And then, Dan, it was after that Sunday night game in New York, and I went out for dinner with a good college friend to a Peruvian restaurant. I've never been to a Peruvian restaurant in Queens. I love Queens. And enjoyed a couple of Modelo's, went back to the room, perhaps had one more. And then I started getting a couple of texts that made me realize I should make a coffee real fast. And this is going to be a long night. So didn't see it coming long-term down the tracks. Once this got into the season, I thought this was going to be a December thing. We've talked about that Aaron Judge comp a lot with the Yankees, where it goes to free agency, that plays a role, and then he signs. But man, what a day. I'm trying to do a better job of recognizing when major moments happen while I'm still in them. And this is a story, this is a day that we'll be talking about forever. 20 years from now, when a guy eventually signs a $1 billion contract in the city, I'm sure it's coming, I'll be talking about Vladdy's day. $500 million. It's just incredible.
It's the length of the deal. Obviously, the sum is massive too, but kids are going to grow up and be able to talk about Vladdy with their kids and still watch them together. The contract is that long. And not to mention, Vladdy's still young.
Still 26. A few different players said that yesterday. George Springer especially, when we spoke to him. A couple of times he stopped himself thinking like, man, this guy's 26. And I have to catch myself because, I started covering this team full-time in 2017. Right when Vladdy was the number one prospect coming up. So he has been front of mind for, 8-9 years now. Normally, when a player is front of mind for 8 or 9 years, they're 32 years old. Vladdy is so young. And when we spoke to Max Scherzer about this yesterday as well, he's been around every great hitter from the last 2 decades. He used the Miguel Cabrera comparison, who he played with for a long time. Miguel Cabrera, as he got into his late 20s, early 30s, he's winning MVPs and still got better. And we've seen that from Vladdy. I've seen him mature, which is not to say that he was young and dumb. He never was, I don't think. He always was a bit of a grown-up. But I've seen him grow into that leadership role. You see him now more comfortable with his English, which he's learned by speaking to his daughter. These are all things that felt so far away when he was 17 years old. But he's a grown man now. He's a dad. He is a half billionaire eventually. Yeah. And man, oh man, like you say, Dan, like he's the face of this. The next 14 years, 15 years, including this year, like nothing is going to top this. Anything that happens with the Blue Jays is either because of Vladdy or featuring Vladdy. Like, he is the face, not just now, he might forever be the face of this team.
What is the age, the sweet spot age for baseball players? 28 to 32? Is that the sweet spot?
He's just about at it right now. 27, 28, 29, 30. Now, for a first baseman like Vladdy, I think that's a little wider. If you are a shortstop or a center fielder, some of that defensive value can fall off. But Vladdy already hits the ball so hard, and because of all the fancy new data we have now, we see how hard he swings the bat. It's so far above the average player that even if he loses a touch in a couple of years, it's still elite. We've seen how those power hitters can age pretty well, as long as they stay healthy, and Vladdy always has, quite frankly. So his prime is not even here yet, I don't think, which is the exciting part if you're a Blue Jays fan. That's coming, and as a guy playing first base, maybe a little bit of third here and there, we'll see. Maybe now that he's sign the contract, that's a more attractive. But I think he is about to step into it, and he's going to be there for a long time. Now, how does he look at age 40? Whatever. Who cares? We know how these contracts work.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'll be then. Whatever. But his prime is coming up, and it's going to be the bulk of this contract.
And it's a double-edged sword. You could say, well, now the pressure's off. He's got his contract signed, but then you're like, no, the opposite. Now the pressure's on.
It is, because Vladdy's already the face of the franchise, but this formalizes it. And John Schneider spoke to this yesterday, that when you are this person, there's a lot of extra stuff that comes along with it. And I'm a big believer, Dan, there are not 30 faces of a franchise in Major League Baseball. There's 30 best players on a team, but that's way different than being a face of a franchise. Aaron Judge, again, is a very good example of someone who's not just the best player on his team, but he is the voice of a team and someone who his organization is very proud to roll out as the spokesperson, as the politician, as the community events guy, whatever it is. Vladdy now, if they have a big playoff loss, if they have a controversy, he is the one that's going to have to come talk to me, to Sportsnet, to the cameras. And that is part of this contract that you can't really quantify with baseball. A few of his teammates spoke about that exactly, how they've seen Vladdy grow up into a role where they think he can do that. And it's hard to do. These guys grow up with only baseball. It's just baseball, baseball, baseball. You do not have to be the guy giving a speech because you hit the baseball 450 feet. So it doesn't matter how you're doing in math class or if you can write a great essay. Right now, Vladdy is going to have to be the face of a lot of stuff. The face of wins, yes, but the face of failures. And when you're the face of a franchise, if you lose a big game and you go 4 for 4, it doesn't matter. You still have to talk about how the team failed. Some guys struggle with that. I think Vladdy will do well with that. It's a learning process, of course, but it's way different. Everything's changed.
There's an easy experiment to quantify how important Vladdy is for this franchise. And I do it quite often because I find it entertaining. And this is before the contract was signed. I would ask quasi, maybe non-baseball fans, name one Toronto Blue Jay. They all, to a person, would say Vladdy. Not just Vladdy, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They know the full name. So that right there signified his importance to this franchise. So as I said yesterday, I made a little video. I said, if you spend, I don't know, $600 million in renovations, you should probably spend close to that much on the guy who's going to put seats into those newly renovated, or butts into those newly renovated seats.
It's a lot of money, but it's not your money. Relax.
Exactly. Okay? It's not your money. Spend it. I don't care. It's not mine.
And listen, it's not like a charity is spending this. It's a telecoms giant. Yes. It's okay. And if, Dan, let's go back to the Carlos Delgado era. I think Carlos Delgado is a good example. If the Blue Jays were doing this salary with that payroll, okay, they screwed up. But they are spending near the top of the league. They are spending like the market Toronto is, which is a massive national 40-plus million person market. They're spending like a big boy team. This can fit. $37 million, I believe it is, a year. You can handle that, especially if you find some valuable players along the way and balance it all out. You can handle that. Contracts are also only going to get more expensive. Everything is more expensive. Go out and buy a beer, buy a carton of eggs, buy some chicken. Everything's more expensive. Players are going to get more expensive. $37 million today is going to look different than in 2035. The realities will change. Now, is this going to be a great dollar per value contract over 14 years? I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on how you break it down. But I don't think it is as simple as baseball formulas at this point. The Blue Jays had two decisions, Vladdy or no Vladdy, period. They've chosen to keep Vladdy. And because of that, everything else changes. Players are more attracted to here. We saw Jose Barrios said to us yesterday, I've got 3 years left and I hope I can extend here so I can keep playing with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So when you talk about Vladdy, I know that every person in my mention with a Leafs logo as their Twitter avatar is going to say, you paid this guy $500 million. He hasn't homered yet this year. Well, you need to bake 1,000 more things into this contract. And one of those is what it's going to do for the perception of this team and how players want to come here. It's not going to be like LeBron or Victor Wembanyama or something in the NBA. Nothing's that extreme, but players know what the future looks like here now. The value goes so far beyond baseball, which is why I think we need to expand that conversation beyond just Vladdy's wins above replacement. You can get bogged down in that, but the Blue Jays, they reset their clock completely. Like, they could have torn this thing down in a year. Now the entire future is clear. Like, you don't spend $500 million on Vladdy and then try to play Moneyball next year. Like, they're going to spend money.
Okay. I like that. I did the breakdown per game. He's going to be making $220,000. $220,488. That's per game.
I wish I didn't know that. You know, next time that I'm standing in the clubhouse waiting for Vlad, what people don't know is a large part of my job is waiting for a guy to like get out of the shower and put some pants on so I can talk to him. Next time I'm 20 minutes into waiting for Vladdy, I'll remember that number and I might just walk out, you know.
This is the one thing that baffles me. And I've only reported on, I don't know, probably 30 pro games before I went onto the desk. And some guys would take an hour. And my mind was always, would you not want to get these interviews done with so you could get the hell out of here? But it was always the reverse. They're like, no, I'll make them wait. And I guess their philosophy was maybe there's only going to be like 2 people waiting for me when I get out there, or maybe there's none.
That's totally it. I remember when I started in this job in 2017, I interned at MLB.com first. And our reporter at that time was Gregor Chisholm, who's now with the Toronto Star. So I was the number 2. And that was back in the era of Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista, Troy Tulowitzki. Like, these guys were like big leaguers, and they would big league you sometimes. And a lot of the time it would be, okay, we want to talk to JD. And the PR person would tell us, well, he's back on the training table. He's in the cold tub. So my job was to be the guy that would just stand there and wait longer than anyone else. And man, these are marathons sometimes. I would want to get out there too, out of there. But then, Dan, I think of the fact that they have hot tubs, a fridge full of free beer, a chef. I might stick around too, take my time.
Yeah. I'm going to be a devil's advocate here. I'm going to ask the question that you're going to probably read a lot in comments online or run into in person. People saying, Blue Jays overpaid. Vladdy had him over a barrel. He's not worth that much. And your comment to that?
The alternative is no Vladdy at all. And the alternative, if the Blue Jays lost, let's play the alternate reality here, Dan. If the Blue Jays lost Vladdy, he signs with Baltimore, with Texas, with the Red Sox, wherever the hell he goes, then they could very easily take a bit of an off-ramp a year from now. Bo, gone. Chris Bassett, gone. Kevin Gausman is gone a year from now. Jose Barrios has an option after 2026 that's maybe not as attractive if Vladdy's not here. Dalton Varsho, gone. Then you're stuck with a team built around Santander, Jimenez, Kirk. It sounds like you're trying to win games 1-0 again. But the alternate reality is such a shift from this. And sometimes I think there's good overpays, honestly. If you break it down in terms of wins above replacement per dollar, sure. For a first baseman, this blows deals out of the water. But it's about so much more than just Vladdy's batting average. It's about more than his home runs. I know that if I was ever brave enough to look really into my Twitter mentions, it would be a lot of, he's not hit a home run yet, and we gave him $500 million.
Oh, yeah.
Also, people like to talk about it like they just gave him a $500 million check today. Yeah. It's paid out over time, people. Let's take a breath.
I also don't look at the mentions, and from the video I posted, the first one I saw, because I just opened it up and it was there, 500 million to a guy that can't even pronounce Saskatoon. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah. Apologies for him being Dominican. I mean, my goodness gracious.
I know.
But with Vladdy's value, he puts the Blue Jays on the map in this league, because I know the Blue Jays are sick of this. I'm sick of it. The entire narrative of they're always the bridesmaids, they always come second. It's a lazy narrative that comes from U.S. media, period. You want the Blue Jays in on these big players. You want them chasing Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Roki Sasaki. Do you want to go back to 2007 where they're not signing anybody? Do you prefer that? Where they're just winning 78 games a year and you never really have a reason to care in either direction?
Do we have to go back to the jerseys too from that era?
Black Blue Jays, glitter. Oh. It's all going to come back. That's the alternative. So this gets rid of that lazy-ass narrative that everyone is tired of. The Blue Jays, I promise you, they're sick of that one. This gets rid of that. And now, every single conversation about the Blue Jays changes. Next offseason, probably talking about a lot of pitching next offseason. We don't have to waste our time with, can we get this guy to come to Canada? Can the Blue Jays finally land a big free agent? They got Vladdy, man. They got a guy for $500 million. That's a waste of time now. They can get anybody.
Is there a temperature that it has to reach for them to cancel a game due to cold?
I bet that's a question for some. I'll have to ask Buck when I see him at the stadium today. Coldest exhibition stadium game maybe that he ever played in. But it's, man, it's getting tough on these guys. Pitchers are one thing, but I would rather get shot than hit a ball off the end of my bat in this weather, man. I would be wearing 3 pairs of batting gloves. I wouldn't be able to close my hands up there. And the guys are all with the ski masks and everything. It's a rough day, man. God bless the Dome. What a beautiful, beautiful piece of architecture. Back in the day, I was a bit of a Dome hater because I didn't think it looked enough like a ballpark.
Same.
Whatever. If there's a convention center ballroom you can play baseball in with a roof over, cool. I'm so spoiled, man. I've become soft. I used to be a man who could work outside and face the elements. Now I've just got soft hands and I melt down when there's a rain delay or when it's cold.
Speaking of soft hands, that's what I think of when I think cold in sports. We would have very early morning practices on the weekend at this one rink that was very cold when I was a kid, and it's ingrained in my brain, tying my laces, and my hands were so cold, it felt like the laces were going through my fingers. So I can only imagine if you get jammed and you're at the plate and your bat vibrates, you'll probably feel that for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, I don't want it. I will admit, I won't be fake tough. Now Hazel and the TV people, they have to be out in the elements. I was up in a closed press box. Frankly, I enjoyed a large ice cream sundae in the 3rd inning yesterday, so I'm not exactly grinding it out. But I tell you what, if I look out this window, I can see Fenway Park, and my walk home was very cold for the 60 seconds it lasted. So, I mean, anything for the good readers of MLB.com. I'm really grinding it out here, but, man, the elements. Get me back to Toronto. Get me to May baseball, man. Come on.
Keegan, you're doing the Lord's work. We thank you.
You got it, man.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.